Hey, yeah, this is Sydney, and I am here to talk us through June 25th to July 1st. That is Wednesday through Tuesday, 2025. I wanted to give a little rundown of some of the things that the bigger things that I noticed or the enduring things that I've noticed about this week. And first and foremost, the moon is out of bounds until Friday around 2 a.m. Heightened feelings, heightened emotions, maybe some reactions that are a little bit out of the ordinary or a little bit too much. Uranus is anaretic. Its ingress isn't into Gemini until July 7th, uh, early July 7th. But Uranus is basically finishing up its story in Taurus, where it has been for about, I think, the last 7 years. And so it has some parting shots, right? Some unusual activity around things that we feel secure and stable about. In fact, I think this is going to feel like a more of an unstable time, especially in this last degree until it changes. And also historically, unfortunately, the Americas, United States, typically has some wartime notions that follow us into Uranus and Gemini, and we haven't really not been in war during that period of time. And so it'll be very interesting to see kind of what comes up during this period of time that is incredibly destabilizing that might push us into further conflict. I'm just saying what that is. Mars is on a critical degree until Wednesday, and that is at the fourth degree mutable in Virgo. And just so you know, the critical degrees for the mutable signs are 4 degrees and 17 degrees. He will hit a world point on Monday, June 30th at 6 a.m. The world point for that is 7.5 degrees. And so that's when he's going to have something to say. So there's critical times around Mars, Martian things, war, conflict, fighting aggression that is happening right now that will potentially have something of a more pronounced or worldwide effect come June 30th. Sorry, I had to look at my notes. Jupiter is still within the square from Saturn and Neptune and doesn't exit combustion until July 5th and is under the beams until July 20th. So I don't really think we have any idea about the cool things that Jupiter could potentially offer us. In fact, I think that right now, because Jupiter is under a square from Saturn, it's just not behaving the way that we would potentially want it to. And we're finding ourselves, dealing with a lot of themes around nationalism and patriotism and homeland security and the overwhelming desire to, be protective of our family. And it's just, mm. So unfortunately, today, when I'm recording this, which is Tuesday, June 24th, there's a Cazimi and the moon is also void. And so we don't get that like super lush, super full of and pregnant, that's a Cancer word, pregnant with potential. Jupiter Cazimi is starting this new cycle around Jupiterian things. I don't I don't think we really get to like fully realize that potential, unfortunately, because of the square from Saturn and the void moon, as the Cazimi is happening today as I record this. Anyways, I don't think we're going to have a real handle of like maybe the beautiful things that Jupiter offers us until well into July 20th. It's out of combustion, it's out of the square, those sorts of things. There are still two fingers of God that are more or less in play through Thursday. So we could see some more war stuff coming up, especially because we have Mars at the apex at that critical degree. And we have Pluto at the apex of the other yod, which, Pluto is kind of, he's a malefic. He goes deep. He can be about bombs. He can be about mining. deep subterranean kind of power and control displays. Not super great. Anyways, Mars and Pluto, pretty malefic, and it's unfortunate that they're at the tips of these two yachts. Fated occurrences that will push us into our future, and we don't really have any say in that. Okay, so fun. Hmm. I hope that this can help you plan for your week, to find nice things to reach for as you go through your week. And without further ado, we have a new moon in Cancer on June 25th, 2025. So the new moon in Cancer is going to be at 4 degrees. 7 minutes of Cancer. It has Jupiter co-present with it in a pretty tight conjunction, but separating. So there's a new cycle from this new moon coming from Jupiter. So I think really, whatever we were potentially trying to, the seed is planted around Jupiterian things, travel, justice, truth. Certainly immigration, Jupiter in Cancer wants to find, mm, it wants to exacerbate this sense of safety and security, right? The Cancerian things. And so I think everything around home, family, security, safety is like highly on all of our minds. The new moon also has, Mercury in Cancer is co-present. We have a lot of Cancerian energy just in the sky in general. Like we're just feeling the feels. And we want a safe and better home for hopefully everyone. The eighth lunar mansion is activated by this new moon. It is Al Nothra, aka the gap, with the nature of Moon and Mars. So I think that there's some sort of desire to now be actively going after our sense of security and stability. Yeah, there's a partile sextile to Mars in Virgo, which I think is a really interesting working aspect because it really wants to achieve this, right? It really wants to find a way to be safe, secure, to feed our families, to put food in our belly, to take care of our health, right? Mars in Virgo. Mars in Virgo is a workhorse. It wants to work, right? So it's like, yeah, we can work to get that done, start this new cycle. It feels very much like kind of like we're going to giddy up, we're going to do it. The sextile is a friendly aspect. It is a like a handshake. You reach across the aisle and you want to do the work, then you can do the work. It's an opportunity, not necessarily a promise. The new moon also has a sextile from Saturn and Neptune trying to, oh no, sorry, a square. Pardon me, my brain just went whoop. It has a square from Saturn and Neptune. So there could be a little bit of confusion around the sorts of dreams and visions that you're trying to establish. A or disillusionment around the new things that you're trying to create, and also feeling a little bit restrained, right? This is, it's still within 3 degrees of the square. And so there is a little bit of restraint still happening as a result of that now separating square from Saturn. There is a pretty strong quincunx from this new moon in Cancer to Pluto. And so Pluto is asking, imploring, and almost forcing some sort of adjustment around this new moon, around this new intention, this new seed that we are setting for ourselves. Pluto says, not so fast. How did this benefit everyone? How does your desire to create, or what is your goal to create safety and security? How does this benefit all of us? And if it doesn't, we need to shift, we need to change, we need to make some sort of adjustment here with the quincunx. And again, this is inside of this yod that the new moon, sextile Mars, and both of them quincunx Pluto is creating this very interesting Plutonian yod that points to kind of like power to the people, getting to the bottom of power structures that impact everybody, that sort of thing. Also in this chart, Uranus is anaretic. We already talked about that, but I think there could be more destabilizing things around money, markets, value, pleasure, certainly strange aircraft. Uranus does rule over helicopters, hot air balloons, that sort of thing. So we might see some more strange occurrences there. And yeah, that's the new moon in Cancer. That is most of the energy that we will be dealing with on June 25th. Yeah, we do have a really cute, yeah, moon Mars, all of those things. It's work to get the new dream and vision done. I think that's like kind of the easiest thing I can say about all of that. Let it go into the next day. June 26th, Thursday. Thursday is Jupiter's day. We now have a Jupiter, while it is exalted, it is very, very combust. So it's not necessarily working at all of the power that it has. It's kind of a little bit in a dangerous situation considering that it is combust and it is still within the square to Saturn and Neptune. So I think that this could potentially just show up as, issues around Jupiterian things, legalities, laws, travel, the expansion of our hope and wishes and dreams, issues with the goals that we're trying to set with ourselves, potentially. In all of the ways that we're trying to expand and grow, there's still some restraint from naughty Saturn in Aries, which really wants to limit us and maybe even limit us through aggression, or force or improper behaviors. I mean, Saturn in Aries is in its fall after all. 2:44 a.m. we have Mercury sextile Uranus and Taurus. This is at the this is the last time when they're meeting up until, Uranus will change signs. But this is the last time that Mercury is going to sextile Uranus and Taurus at the 29th degree before he changes signs. And so I think that there's just some new ideas, right? Some new potentially exciting and kind of critical ideas that come up that essentially will impact how we look at safety and security because we have Cancer and Taurus being in safety and security signs, right? This is about value. This is about how we feel safe. This is about survival, those sorts of things. And Mercury and Uranus contacts usually bring some sort of liberation, newness, freshness, new ideas, right? Just new ideas. We have then the sun will sextile Mars in Virgo. This is a good working aspect, like get things done. We like that. And we have Moon Cancer, sextile Venus in Taurus. This is really pleasant. This is also another really lovely working aspect. This can be, baking bread, making soup. In engaging in activities that make you feel comfortable, and going after those sorts of activities that make you feel safe. At 12:09 p.m., we have Mercury entering Leo. So now he is, fired up. He's a little bit less emotional. He's definitely a little bit more passionate. The ideas that and the ways that we communicate become a little bit more fixed, right? A little bit more like standing on business, can be a little bit more ego driven. Creative storytelling is very much a part of that Mercury and Virgo. I mean, Mercury in Leo. I was speaking too fast. Mercury and Leo signature. Pardon. Wow, this moon being void is like absolutely rocking my brain today. And this is just an opportunity. I still think that there's a little bit of a emotional bent to it all, if only because that Mercury in Leo is answering to that sun in Cancer that is being touched by Jupiter in Cancer, right? So there's a little extra emotionality to how Mercury is telling its stories and saying this is how I want to express myself, right? There can be a little bit more drama. Leo is, after all, a pretty dramatic sign, and also a desire to be noticed for the things that we say. We will have Moon in Cancer square Chiron in Aries at 5:22 p.m. This is not a great aspect. This can be, either feeling emotionally wounded, super sensitive, not necessarily feeling taken care of. Um, you know, this is this is just we're in our feels, and maybe there's not necessarily, and we want to do something to like fix it, but the fixing isn't quite coming yet. Moon sextile Uranus, also at that anaretic degree. So the moon could act as a trigger, and we could see something around those Uranus and Taurus things coming up. But also, we're feeling a little bit more intuitive, maybe the ability to suddenly drop an old habit, make some sort of change, emotional change, or habit change around how we feel safe, how we feel secure. Something needs to shift, and we're like, okay, we can do that. Uh, it's actually a quite lovely aspect. And then at 11:05 p.m., we have the moon entering Leo. So moon is going to join Mercury and say, I want some of the drama too. I'm feeling playful, creative, dramatic, and I want to get on in on some of that creative storytelling that you got there, Mercury. So that is Thursday, June 26th. Let's go forward. Okay, Friday, June 27th, we have that moon in Leo conjunct Mercury, which is again, needing to engage in play and storytelling and conversation that feels a little bit more lively and dramatic and definitely playful. There is a really lovely trine that will be activated from Neptune in Saturn to that Mercury and Moon. So this is feeling dreamy. This is feeling like we're able to kind of maybe create a new vision for how we want to set up the various foundations of our life. This is feeling passionate and fired up. This can be speaking with authority. Mercury is forming a trine to Neptune and Saturn over this day and will be exact in Saturday. But this aspect is just kind of like holding it down, like how we want to be creative or how we are, intellectualizing things feels a little bit more solid and formed and real and passionate and creative. It's a really lovely working energy, I think, for pretty much the whole day. We do have at 4:39 a.m. the moon will oppose Pluto in Aquarius. This can feel real passionate, real critical, right? Some sort of emotional outburst can come up here. This is, a period of time where we need to be cautious of being emotionally manipulated or engaging in emotional manipulation. This is the moon being asked by Pluto to go deeper into our emotional and intuitive complexes to be able to get rid of stuff that we don't need. There is an awareness here of how deeply we feel and how passionately we feel about things. And I think we're feeling real passionate. Let's see. Then we have 6:04 a.m. The Venus in Taurus is going to trine the South Node. He's doing this at a critical degree. So there's something important about Venusian topics, women, art, money, value, that is feeding into something about this is allowing us to release and to let go of, South Node in Virgo, which is, perhaps old information that doesn't suit us, old criticisms or patterns around our health. This can be something about health with Venus and the South Node in Virgo. This could be, news around women, or how mothering happens, children, especially because the Mercury has just entered Leo, and that is the ruler of the South Node. There's just something here about this criticalness of Venus and Taurus at 22 that is allowing us to release something old and something that doesn't serve us anymore. Oh, it also might like facilitate some sort of sacrifice. When I think about the South Node, I think about a drain, right? I think about it just dumping out old materia from the past. And so there's something here about Venus that says, I'm standing on my business. This is how I feel safe and secure. And the South Node in Virgo goes, okay, well, then we have to let go of this. I don't know how that's obviously going to play out, but there's a facilitation that occurs here because of what we value and what kind of business we're literally standing on, I think, uh, that facilitates release. We have some lovely quintiles from the moon to Venus and Uranus, 6:28, 7:18 p.m., 6:28 a.m., and then 7:18 p.m. So I think that, if we can get past that feeling really, really intense, the moon opposite Pluto, that we stay away from being emotionally manipulated and instead we just allow ourselves to feel deeply and passionately. I think that this day is actually really quite lovely. 8:52 p.m. Mercury trines Saturn at the very, very early degrees, one degree 44 minutes. Mercury trines Saturn is like the ability to speak within your own authority, to feel secure about the words that you are conveying or the conversations you're having, right? These can feel like foundational conversations. This could feel like whatever you are creatively coming up with, that there is like an actual foundational basis for which to stand on here. There's a passionate aspect to this with it being in fire signs, feeling fired up and willing to communicate the things that are potentially feeling really, really important to us, and being able to convey like our dreams. It does have ever so slightly of a emotional lens to that, and if only because Mercury in Leo is answering to that Sun Jupiter conjunction in Cancer. So emotional, right? There's an emotional background to the passionate conversations that we are trying to establish, or the passionate ways that we are trying to have communications with other people. And that's the last aspect of the day. So, Saturday is Saturn's day. We still have Saturn in Aries. He's going to be there for 2.5 years. He's within like almost a half a degree of a conjunction with Neptune. He's not going to meet up actually with Neptune and like exact that conjunction for a number of months yet. But for all intents and purposes, we are watching some of the events happen around Neptune and Saturn together in a fiery, passionate kind of war sign, right? It has to do with faith and it has to do with foundational things around our government. We can watch, and we have been watching, government institutions being kind of dissolved or various branches of our government kind of dissolving and being assimilated into other things, and how we expect, I don't know, government to be behaving isn't quite behaving how we would expect it to. And it is a bit confusing. And that's just one of the many delineations for Saturn Neptune conjunction. But, anyways, I digress. Saturn's day. Not a lot of aspects today. We do get at 4:58 a.m. Mercury trine Neptune. This is such a lovely aspect to create and to dream and to create and have new ideas around the ways that we want to, I don't know, establish our future, or to be more playful, or to be in better connection to spirit. I think this is a very passionate trine with the fire signs. Um, I think this is creative storytelling. I think this is telling a tale around being like the warrior, right? Or the king. There's some number one energy here with the Leo Aries signs being activated. But in all of the ways that you could potentially write some sort of victorious story, and create a vision board, right? Mercury and Neptune, of all of the things that you intend on creating. This, I think, is a pretty juicy aspect to be able to do it. Let's see. We have 5:23 p.m. Moon in Leo square Venus in Taurus. This is a little moment where I would just say try not to overindulge in the things that bring you pleasure, especially if you're feeling a little bit emotionally activated. There's just potentially a ability to go a little bit overboard around indulgences at this time. But for the most part, whenever we have Moon Venus contacts, any of the contacts, it's a little bit more pleasant than it would be uncomfortable. Though this square could bring up some issues with women, issues with nurturing, and that's why we would reach for, the Haagen-Dazs or something like that. 10:41 p.m. we have the moon trine Chiron. This is a really lovely opportunity to engage with the ways that we have felt sensitive or in pain, to actively engage in healing, and also feeling a bit more tapped in, tuned in to empathy and wisdom at this time. So Saturday, not a lot of aspects. I took out the like super minor aspects in general so I can try to get through these things a little bit quicker than I normally do. Yeah, so I feel like in some ways, Saturday feels like a dream. And it's not bad to engage in the dream, because sometimes you'll have a sort of vision or inspiration that allows you to grow that into something better and sweeter. And considering that, we just had the new moon a few days ago, this is potentially the kind of working aspect we need in order for us to fulfill our dreams. Sunday, June 29th. Big aspect of the day happens very, very early in the morning, but hangs out. Mercury is a planet that, will take, I think he moves like a degree a day, something like that. Yeah, about a degree a day. So we can expect for this Mercury-Pluto opposition to really be holding for the next couple of days. It's exact today. Uh, I think some of the key concepts here are to be cautious of being intellectually manipulated, of there could be a potential to be a very passionate communicator and really, really wanting to get your point across. This is a very juicy aspect for being able to get to the bottom of some sort of information. And also, there could be something about secrets coming out. Mercury being a messenger and Pluto being around secrets, things that are buried deep, 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 deep in the earth. There could be something, a secret, a piece of information coming to light. The opposition is an awareness point. And this could be something that has to do with Cancerian things because Mercury in Leo is ruled by that sun in Cancer. So, our whatever desire or drive to experience security and safety, maybe there's a secret that comes up that impacts that or allows us to understand what we're really working with. What else do we have? Da, da, da. Moon in Leo, square Uranus and Taurus. This is some sort of emotional upset. And certainly because we have Mercury and Moon in Leo, it could be that we are experiencing something that has to do with the solar principle around Cancerian things, homeland, right? And some sort of shock, emotional surprise, and pushing us to change in some sort of way, emotionally shift in some sort of way. And we don't necessarily want to, right? Because it's a fixed square. 4:43 a.m., the moon is going to enter Virgo. And then very, very quickly, as soon as he's in Virgo, he's in danger of conjuncting Mars. And so this is a spicy moon in Virgo, I think. I think that the moon in Virgo is, you know, the tummy ache, the worrier, the worker. I need to do all of the things on my checklist. Um, I need to take care of my health. I need to take care of my tummy. I need to be of service. I feel safe when I am calculating and analyzing and self-criticizing. I think there's a caution here to not be too analytical or too critical, and not to be too hard on oneself. We have 1:12 p.m. Moon in Virgo, sextile Jupiter in Cancer. I think that this hopefully will ease ease up for the moon in Virgo, feeling a little bit like downtrodden. Now she feels a little bit of hope. She has a nice little working aspect to work on the things that she deems worthy of her hopes and dreams, especially because Jupiter in Cancer is ruled by that moon in Virgo. Jupiter does not like Virgo as a sign, so I don't think that this sextile will be as pleasant as we want it to be because Jupiter does not like Virgo. It's in its fall. So it could be that we really have a lot to do. We want to do those things and we go a little bit overboard doing those things. Jupiter still combust. He is acting in service of the sun, that really wants safety and security at all costs. 6:13 p.m. Moon conjuncts Mars. Spicy, could feel like emotionally lashing out. Just feeling really cranky. Virgo, if it's not done right and it's not done perfectly, crankiness can ensue. At 8:54 p.m., we have the moon sextile the sun. And so this is a crescent sextile. It's emerging. So there's some new ideas around whatever that seed was planted with the new moon that is now kind of, we feel a little bit of like, okay, now I know what it is and how to go about doing it. And I have the ability. So I'm gonna go, I'm gonna make that happen now, right? We do have a pretty, yep, that Sun and Mars sextile is there too. So I think this really gives us a drive and desire to want to get the things done that have to do with our new moon goal. And also just have to do with new beginnings, also have to do with home security, health stuff could come up here because we have Virgo and Cancer. Yeah. And then 9:53 p.m. we have the moon by quintile retrograde Pluto. I think this just allows us to get a little bit deeper, feeling a little bit more intensely, a little bit more of like a psychological bent, able to kind of get down into the the guts of the matter, the emotional matter, but it's not bad. It doesn't feel bad. It just feels like what the root of the matter is. And yeah, that is Sunday. All right, let's move forward into Monday, June 30th. Monday is the moon's day. We still have the moon in Virgo. Oh, yeah. So, moving this up Monday. Do I have it there? Interesting. Did I not add it? Interesting. Well, the moon is going to meet the south node today, which, brings some, I think, some instability around Moon in Virgo, things, perhaps in all of the ways that she wants to get things done, not really being able to do all of those things. I think it could be that we feel kind of tired, our bodies feel tired, a little bit drained is a part of this as well. Um, we do have not a lot of aspects today. It's kind of strange. But we do have perhaps some new ideas emerging, but not quite into fruition. Mercury in Leo, semi-sextile, Jupiter in Cancer. It's the ideas, there's some creative ideas blooming, but not fully realized. We have the moon in Virgo, quintile Jupiter. I hope that this will help us to feel like we actually have the ability to accomplish something, especially around our goals. Again, Moon in Virgo is she's kind of struggling because she's going to meet up with that South Node. And I think as the day goes on, we might be feeling a little bit more drained and tired as we go forward. We do have 9:51 p.m. Moon quintile the Sun. This I think feels like being in alignment. So even though, there's some it's almost like I don't mean alignment like everything is hunky dory. It's just what we need, what we want, our habits, and how we behave are all just kind of there together in one. It's a very low aspect day. Frankly, it's a little strange to look at as I am looking at my aspect list. But the other things to notice about this chart is that, let's see, Saturn and Jupiter are just about in that 3 degrees of separation. Jupiter's still in that being restrained. So we're not quite there. Jupiter is very much combust with the sun, but Jupiterian things are adding to the sun as well. So I think, Jupiter really wants to help the sun feel better. And, he's doing what he can to feel, a little bit more safe, a little bit more expansive, a little bit more caring, a little bit more intuitive. Um, but I do think that there's still some issues and we still don't know all that there is to know. And I don't necessarily think that Jupiter in Cancer is behaving very well because its ruler is the moon in Virgo and he does not like the Virgo sign. So I think in all of the ways that we're feeling pretty emotional on Monday, I think, we're also feeling really critical, overly critical about the things that need to get done. So be a bit cautious of that. And let's move into the last day of this forecast, which is going to be Tuesday, July 1st. Now we are in July. Holy shit, how did we get here? What the hell? We still have Mercury opposite Pluto within the 3 degrees, so I think that there could still be some stuff around some secrets coming out. We will have the moon changing signs today in the afternoon, which is great. We will have woken up on Tuesday with the moon in Virgo trine Venus and Taurus. This is a lovely working aspect. This is grounded in reality. This is grounded in security, right? This is, I need to get this done because this thing is worth it. That kind of thing. I think this is a really good, feel good aspect and allows us to go about doing our day and doing the things that actually have like tangible results for us. It's pretty great. 1:46 p.m., we'll have the moon trine Uranus and Taurus, so this could be some sort of new, emotional habits coming up or just feeling inspired, feeling really intuitive. Yeah, it's kind of lovely. I mean, Uranus and Taurus is anoretic. So again, we don't know if that could potentially, with the moon being a fast object, being the thing that triggers a Uranian moment in the world for us. Um, but we'll see. 2:16 p.m., the moon is going to enter Libra. Now we want to connect. Now we want to socialize. And now all of the ways that we can feel connected to others kind of comes up. Uh, it's, I don't know, moon in Libra loves being in a relationship, loves being in partnership, um, wants to go to lunch with friends, and that's how it feels safe. Moon in Libra is not necessarily going to want to go to a movie by itself, right? 5:53 p.m., the moon opposite Saturn in Aries. I think that this can be some sort of external reality check, right? This is in all of the ways that I'm trying to feel pleasant, there's still this responsibility kind of like looming over my shoulders, right? Or I need to accomplish this task. This can be a little bit of like perhaps feeling a bit let down. We have Moon opposite Saturn pretty much as soon as it enters Libra. So it could feel like, feeling a bit burdened by the responsibilities that we have. It could feel like being a bit depressed, down in the dumps, feeling out of the ordinary, feeling a bit isolated. And a moon in Libra does not like that. But there's definitely kind of some isolation tendencies because of all of the work that it's been placed upon it, and we have some work to do. Perhaps there's some sort of reality check. The good news is, well, good news, bad news. The aspect is over in like a couple of hours. However, we do have right after that opposition to Saturn, it's going to oppose Neptune. This is feeling confused, right? This is feeling disillusioned with how one feels and how one feels about like the world around it, right? So I do think that these evening time feels a bit sad, dreary, not great, uh, a little bit bleak. And to make matters more interesting, we do have for the very last aspect of Tuesday, Moon trine retrograde Pluto at 8:26 p.m. The thing that I really like about Moon Pluto contacts is that there is a regeneration that happens when we feel so deeply. We're able to kind of like psychologically get down into the bottom of it with like the trines, so that it can just be released, right? We feel intensely and we feel really deeply. But at the end of the day, we're able to like also release, right? We also know what that feeling really, really was. And so I'm hoping that despite the perhaps confusion and depression of just a couple hours before, when the moon comes to trine retrograde Pluto, it now can get to the bottom of the situation and kind of clear out that sort of feeling. So, yeah, that is the week, and I will be back tomorrow. And my books are open. You can always schedule with me on ddastrology.com, and there will be a little end card, easy peasy. And I hope that you are all well and able to use this to help you with your week. All right, take care of yourself and each other. Hey, thank you for listening to today's Astro Weather with me. I'm Sydney. As a reminder, I'm always open to seeing both new and my beloved returning clients. My website is ddastrology.com. That is D as in dog, D as in dog, astrology.com to check me out, and just click the email buttons in order to schedule with me. If you're into a more conversational feel with your podcast and content, I have a podcast called BS Astrology with my fellow Mercurial Mommy Bender, and we put out episodes every Sunday for the week. Just search BS Astrology on YouTube or wherever you enjoy listening to your podcast, including Spotify, Audible, and more. Have a good day.